À medida que a guerra em Gaza continua, Israel está em alerta máximo, esperando um ataque retaliatório do Irão nas próximas horas. Os Estados Unidos já proibiu os voos dos americanos para Israel. Um confronto extremamente severo está por vir. Israel diz que já preparou seu exército para o confronto. Veja a matéria até o final para entender tudo o que está acontecendo nesse momento. E para receber mais notícias como essa, curte o vídeo e se inscreva no canal.
אנחנו ערוכים ומוכנים בהתקפה ובהגנה במגוון יכולות של צה"ל. תקיפה משטח איראן תהווה הוכחה ברורה על הכוונות האיראניות להסלים את המזרח התיכון ולהפסיק להסתתר מאחורי השלוחים. בחודשים האחרונים שיפרנו וקידמנו את יכולות ההתקפה שלנו ואנחנו נדע לפעול היכן שנדרש. יש לנו יכולת הגנה רב-שכבתית שהוכיחה את עצמה במהלך המלחמה עם אלפי יירוטים מוצלחים. אך עדיין, לצד זאת, ההגנה לעולם אינה הרמטית. דרך אגב, מדינת ישראל נתקפת ביכולות איראניות מתימן, מעיראק, מסוריה. אני חושב כמעט כל שבוע, אם לא כמעט כל יום, באופן כזה או אחר, וההגנה שלנו מיירטת את האיומים האלה. ועדיין, אנחנו ערוכים ודרוכים בערנות גבוהה, בהגנה וגם בהתקפה, ונדע גם לעדכן את הציבור וגם להתמודד עם כל...
The White House said Thursday it has warned Iran against any retaliatory attack on Israel. An Israeli strike last week on the country's consulate in Syria killed several senior Iranian commanders. Iran's supreme leader said the attack in Damascus was equivalent to an attack on Iran itself. U.S. and Israeli officials are now preparing for Iran to respond, and despite differences over the handling of Gaza, President Biden has promised Israel ironclad, that's his word, support against Tehran. CBS News national security correspondent David Martin joins me now from the Pentagon. David, when do we have any sense of what this attack could look like, when it might come?
Right now, John, U.S. intelligence is monitoring Iran as it makes preparations for a major drone and missile attack against Israel that could come really at any time, perhaps within the next 24 hours. And by preparations, I mean moving missiles from out of their storage sites into launch position and putting air defenses on high alert in anticipation of an Israeli counterstrike. Now, Iran has said that that attack on their consulate in Syria was the same thing as an attack on their soil. So Iran seems determined here to take the war back to Israel. So we are really at a high-stakes moment here, perhaps the highest since October 7th.
Wow. Okay. Now, what kind of capability does Iran have for confrontation with Israel? I mean, could it be this is going to seem absurd, but a measured strike, or what does one expect from an Iranian attack?
Iran has about 75 to 100 ballistic missiles that have a great enough range to reach Israel. So that's a significant threat, because each one of those missiles can carry a 1,000-pound warhead. But you have to remember that Israel has a significant air defense. We've seen them use their Iron Dome system against Hamas rockets, and it has other systems called Arrow and David Sling, which are capable of intercepting longer-range ballistic missiles of the kind that Iran might fire. But that first volley is only the start of a battle, because if Iran strikes Israel, Israel is almost certainly going to strike Iran. And Israel, with its American-made F-35 stealth fighters, is certainly likely to come out ahead in an exchange like that. But the bottom line here, John, is nobody wins if this war becomes a war between Israel and Iran.
And finally, David, on the U.S. question, I mean, so sort of two questions at once. How does this raise the threat for U.S. forces in the region? And there's always been a challenge with the U.S. in terms of Israeli responses when it comes to Iran. fearful that they're going to overshoot and do too much. How does that get managed?
Well, you've heard the president say that in this case, U.S. supports it needs to take on Iran directly, state to state. Now, in Iran's eyes, that of course will make the U.S. and all the American troops who are based in the Persian Gulf, Iraq, Syria, Yemen, not Yemen, excuse me, Iraq and Syria, that will make them all legitimate targets. Whether Iran decides to go after them directly or whether it prefers to use its proxies against American troops, proxies like Hezbollah and the militias in Iraq and Syria. This war we are on the brink of right now could be a major turning point in this whole series of disasters which began on October 7th.
A very, very sober moment. David Martin at the Pentagon. Thank you very much, David.